Well, another day, another caravan. This is Jonathan from Caravan Source, www.caravansource.co.uk if you want to check out our stock. And I'm making this video as another helpful tip video on what to look at when looking at a used caravan. You may notice it is snowing, so I thought it would be a good winter edition. We're in lockdown in the country, potentially for the next 2 months. And I know that there's a lot of people who've been subscribing to the channel. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. If you could give us a thumbs up, it all helps the channel. You know, we want to make helpful YouTube videos on caravan, motorhome, suggestions, problems, issues, and hopefully some more fun topics as well at some point. But yeah, today I've been meaning to do this for a while. I want to dive into a video on sort of, if I was going to look at a caravan, what on earth would I look for a used caravan? And I'm just going to look at this caravan in front of me or behind me, and possibly maybe other caravans around, and just look and see what can I notice as someone with experience in used caravans, in buying used caravans is what I do. So what do I look for, and what should you look for to avoid huge pitfalls and huge bills? And I'm going to have another video which is sort of a number 2 video on the Bailey problem of damp with the senators, rangers, pageants. We've actually got one in the workshop. You can maybe hear some noise, and I'm now able to show you if it looks a certain amount of damp on the inside, what's it going to look like when you actually get into it, and how much damage is it going to cause, and why is it so expensive. So we're just going to dive into this one right now and have a look around it and see what we can observe. So here we have a 2004 Avondale Arrow, which I believe is the same as a Dart, but it was probably a dealer special with different coloured upholstery. It's a 556 6-berth. All of that is pretty irrelevant. It's a caravan, it's used, it's 16 years old. That took far too long. So what kind of problems am I going to have? Now, Avondales were never that great. Whenever anyone offers me an Avondale, I always say, okay, I'll have a look, as I did with this one. They did have problems with just absolutely cracking front panels and back panels. The mouldings they used were clearly not substantial enough, and they just crack over time. Somebody brought me one the other day, and it was like a seesaw. The floor was completely... it was bad. Possibly had the bark and dog Pac-Man situation, which we've made another video to, where the floor starts to come away from the chassis, and you get the front of the caravan just lifts up and down. So what can we notice about this caravan? Oh look, it has quite substantial service history. Don't be fooled, doesn't mean anything. Well, there's a crack in the panel here. That's not really a massive issue. That's below the line of anything for water to get in. Somebody's put some silicone in here. That's always a sign that somebody's observed something in that area. What I really notice, the first thing I look for is up on these corners, on these mouldings. There is a gap there. I don't know if that comes out, but if there's a gap, that means water can get in. There's a gap. Ooh, you can't see my finger. There's a gap here. So I'm gonna look there, definitely. There's also a gap between the awning rail and here, and somebody has put some filler in, but filler shrinks, and possibly if he's had an awning, it's pulled the awning rail off, who knows. Now what happens is, if that gap opens up, water gets in, rots through the timber, and before you know it, the screws have got nothing to bite into anymore. So that awning rail is now not really that well fixed to the caravan, and then the water gets in even more. So you need to avoid that. It's coming away here a bit. Couple of dints. I am not really bothered about dints unless they've gone through the skin. It's aluminium, it's going to happen, particularly on something this age. I can also tell that there has been some work done because this is different to this. So either that or that has been taken off, the rail that is, and resealed at some point. There's a crack in the back panel here, and there's shrunken sealant or whatever, which is being put on really badly by a local dealership, I was told. The same dealership who told one of my customers their Caravan had £2,000 worth of damp work needed and didn't. It happens. You can hardly trust anyone. There's gaps up here as well. But you can trust us. It's one of the reasons that we put Try Honesty as our business tagline, because we point out the good and the bad, and we don't make stuff up. We've heard so many stories of other dealerships who will just tell you anything. Okay, so we've had a look around the outside. There's a slight crack here. Obviously we haven't got up on the roof, but we've observed all four corners have got sealant opening up, and there's a crack there. So these are the places I'm going to look first for damp. So I'm going to go and get my damp meter, and then we'll dive onto the inside. Okay, we're on the inside. It is cold today. So here's my damp meter. It's a Protimeter Mini. These are about 150 quid. They are good because you've got this bit, and you can also plug this in, and there's some spikes in here, and use it remotely. So you can hold this out and plug it in the wall. So this is a penetrative damp meter. It has very sharp spikes, and it will go into the wood a couple of mil, and it will read the moisture content. There's another type of damp meter which workshops use, which is non-penetrative, and it uses, I don't know what it uses actually, infrared or something to measure the temperature in the walls. Now, that type of damp meter is about 400 quid. No good to me today because it's freezing cold. You have to warm the van up. It has to be at a reliable temperature, and then it'll work. Whereas these, they are cheaper and they will work in all temperatures. The cons being they don't sort of go as deep as the one that I mentioned, the infrared or whatever it is. So, where am I going to look first? Well, I've stepped in the van and I've noticed a couple of things already. Front windows. These are watermarks, which tells me water has been running in the van. That is a sign that you have to look for. Also, pimpling. A very common problem. Pimples with black, you could call them blackheads. What it is, there's moisture trapped in the wallboard, which is what happens with damp, and it can't escape, and it just blisters up through the wallboard. It's a crazy kind of thing. But I'm going to lift up the rubber here, and yes, it's wet in there. Can't really see very clearly, can you? I can feel wet on my finger, but that is black. The wallboard in there is black. So that tells me it's damp. I get people disputing this all the time when I go to look at caravans. Oh, it was just a little bit of damp. Well, a little bit of damp usually means a lot of damp. In any case, it's not soft, but it is pimpled. And if I stick my Protimeter in where somebody has already, it's 40% damp there, 35, 30, 40, 30. Also, this was another commonplace on the Avondales and a couple of other manufacturers. In these corners, it's got 25, 20, and then it tails off and is back up to normal here. So what could be happening is it could be getting in up there where we saw that the sealant was cracked and running down to the lowest point and settling there, but you will also probably find some readings. I haven't yet. I know you can't see. I would usually use the extension cable that I was talking about, but it's a bit difficult when you're holding a camera. No, there's no readings up there, but it'll be running round the rail and down and settling there, but also that window will be causing some moisture as well. And then on this side I've got the same sort of problem. I've got pimpling. Again, the wallboard hasn't gone soft, so that's something, but I'm getting 25, 40, 40. So someone might be just telling you, oh, it's a bit damp. There's a little bit of damp in the corner there, but this thing's going to be damp all over that area. Under the window is fine. And down the bottom here is also. So if I'm looking at repairing this, just as a rough estimate, that awning rail's got to come off. That's at least 120 quid to take off and put back on. That awning rail's got to come off. That's 120 quid, so up to 240 quid. And then a sheet here, that's about £1,000 worth of repairs. As a rough estimate, it could be double that. So already we're into maybe 1,500 quid at least worth of damp repairs at the front of this caravan if you were going to repair it, if you were going to have it repaired. A little bit of a moisture reading under there. It's difficult at this time of year. Condensation can cause that. A window having been left open can cause that sort of damp reading. But also, it could be that the window seal's gone. That is, you know, that looks dry to me, so it could be the sink tap has leaked at some point. I'll go back to the back. Well, you can't see any evidence of damp at the back here. So you would think that that was just dry. Whereas I can tell you that there's a damp reading of 30 there. And in the bed area, I can't get into there, can I? Yeah. We're in the red again. So you wouldn't have known that if this was your van or if you were going to buy it. And this is why you have to get your vans damp tested professionally every year. Or pay 150 quid for a damp meter. It could save you 1,500 quid in the future. That kind of damp there probably hasn't been happening for such a long time. And that could be resealed and it'll dry out to a certain extent. The front end here, well, you can live with that if you want, but that kind of level of damp, as you'll see in our other videos, as you'll see in the next video I'm going to make with the update to the repair we're doing on the Bailey, once you started getting into this, a lot of the wallboard's going to be black, it's going to be saturated with water, and then the structure of the van behind that will also be completely rotten. Bear in mind, by the time it gets to the wallboard, it's already rotted through the timbers that form the structure of the van, so the integrity, you could argue, has been compromised. So, I think I'll just leave it there. Another thing worth looking for is cracks in the shower tray. Quite common, and depending on, well, yeah, what you want to do with them, you can, to have it professionally repaired, it's going to cost a lot of money, but to have it glued isn't going to cost that much. But if you were going to have a shower in here, you'd certainly want to get this around the toilet and certain areas resealed. I'm noticing that the floor has a little bit of give to it. I've lost it. Yeah, that's not bad. You always, yeah, that was there. Just in front of the sink is quite a common place, just because you stood here a lot, and the way the floors are made, as we've mentioned in other videos, is plyboard, foam, and plyboard underneath, and the layers are glued together with an epoxy glue, and if the epoxy glue is walked on a lot, it will sort of eventually untack, and then you'll get a bit of give in the floor. It's a misconception that the floor, it's always damp. I get people arguing the toss about that. Oh, it's a damp floor if it's got delamination. Well, it's not. It's just delaminated. You'll always think that there's a bit of delamination in this area because there's a spare wheel hidden under there. So if there's a rug on here, you'd be like, oh my goodness, that floor's terrible. It's a spare wheel on Avondale's. I think they were one of the only manufacturers to put a spare wheel under the floor there. It's not a bad idea. It's over the axle and saves on having a carrier outside the van which can seize up. But they were one of the only manufacturers to take that up, probably the only manufacturer. What else have I noticed while I'm yapping on? Not a great deal, to be honest. The fridges are always... tend to always be corroded like this. There will be a reason. A lot of the time it's because people don't leave them open to air out, but I think something causes that corrosion, and I don't know why. Often you'll get water ingress around the this here. This is a collar that screws the cowl on the roof tight, and then there's a screw goes through to, I don't know, kind of finish that off and keep it really tight. But that can kind of jump on its thread or move, and that will then just let water pour in and cause water ingress in this whole area. Seen that quite a lot. There is a crack on the fire here, but that's been glued. That's also loose. This is a bit of a hassle job if you're going to replace it. You can heat it up with a hairdryer or a heat gun, and it'll give you some purchase to put it back down, but it probably will happen again in the future. There's a little tip for you. I think that just about does it for this caravan. That's my main observations. I've showed you the damp. I've shown you it probably wants 1,500 quid's worth of damp repairs. So if you were going to buy this caravan, if you hadn't noticed that, if you believed the person who was telling you it was just had a little bit of damp here or there, or oh, I hadn't noticed that, and you still want to buy it, you could, you know, that's what you're potentially going to be lumped with. So I'll leave it for this caravan, and I'll have a look and see what else we can spot. I'm going to give you a quick look at this. This is a 90s Abbey GTS, and the person who sold me it was an elderly lady. It hadn't moved for 12 years, and I went to collect it, and the tyres were so perished, when I blew them up, it exploded. But in her mind, this caravan just needed cleaning. I'm not kidding you. She thought it just needed cleaning, and she had been told. She was telling me that it was like new. Look, it's like new. This is a 90s caravan. She was going, look, it's like new. And I'm like, yep, that's like new. That just fell off. I was looking, going, whoa, hang on a minute. What's going on here? What is going on here? What is that is very damp. And she hadn't even, you know, mentioned this. As she's telling me, it's in such good condition. The roof has had a leak. Oh, what's that? That's rotten wood that's been falling down from the roof. And she was adamant that this caravan was amazing. Two things. A lot of the window rubber has gone weird. All shrunken and shriveled and sun damaged and melted, it looks. And that, I'm guessing that window will be quite difficult to open. You can see the front's even worse. Ew, it's ugly. So she then tells me, oh yes, look at that, look at that. So that's what I've just been describing. If the chimney on the fire fails, this is what would eventually happen after a long time. It's bad. if I was to poke that, that would be completely just mush and just fall down like that. So a little bit of damp, not repaired over a long time, this is what you're going to end up with. So someone came to fix this caravan, and I think he told her 150 quid. Needless to say, he didn't come back. So it's actually dried out now. That's frozen. Pretty much, because it's been sealed so that the moisture can't get any worse. Apparently it was this needed resealing, but I mean that's loose anyway, because there's nothing there to fasten it to. But this is what was underneath that little bit of damp. You know, the wood is just gone. It's powder. There's nothing there of integrity. This van is getting dismantled for its parts, which is a shame because it would have been a nice van. But it's what happens if you ignore the signs of damp and you don't get your van damp tested and you just let it. I can see that this is discoloured here. You might not see it on camera, but yeah, that the integrity of this just partition wall is gone as well. Okay, this is another older caravan. This is a Luna Mercury, I think. It's a Luna something. I don't even know where to start with this. Be careful, because it's actually the front jacks. Yeah. There's some damage to the thing there, but that's kind of the least of your worries with this caravan. What do we have here? We have a gap underneath the window because this shelf has dropped down. Now this is a gas locker underneath here. Now Luna were one of the only people that put this little inspection hatch here, which its catch is broken on. But this is what we call the pot shelf. You might call this a windowsill. But it's dropped, and the whole front of the caravan is loose. Now, that can be caused by damp. Obviously, anything where water's got in and it's rotted the wood, the screws will then have nothing to grip to, and things drop. But this is what happens. Little bit of damp, long-term damage. Okay, I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to pick up on a point here with this Eldus. This is a 2013, so this is another kind of newish van you could be looking at. What do I notice? Well, can you see what I see? Very slight. Very slight discoloration there. It's been painted. Is it a problem that's been painted? I very much doubt it, but you can notice it. It's obviously caught something and it's been filled and repaired. 2013. What else can I uncover in this van? Well, the shower tray, not the shower tray, the shower screen is cracked and it's come away from the wall. Just little tips when you're looking around caravans. These are the kind of things you need to be looking for. This can all be repaired, but it's not great on a caravan of this age. I don't think there's anything to show you in there. These fridges as well. Thetford bought copied Dometic Electrolux. Electrolux became Dometic, I believe, possibly because it got bought out by a European company. Thetford, who made toilets for decades, possibly over 100 years, I don't know, decided to have a pop at copying Dometic. Dometic were very reliable. I would trust a 30-year-old Electrolux fridge over this fridge, which is 7-year-old. They try and be clever. It's all automatic. The PCB boards very commonly go, and if the cooler modules, the cooler systems on them go, you've got to replace the fridge. That's going to cost you something like £700. Okay, another common problem with Eldises and Swifts cracking in the top panels, you've got to get a crown to go on there to repair that. This side's okay. You got to look for these things. This is the kind of crown I'm talking about. This might even be a repair panel for the bottom that's already been done, probably under warranty. So many problems with manufacturers. These we've covered in past videos. 3 corners of this underneath are damp. Let's see if we can have a look. Yep. You got to look for that. It's the biggest thing to look for on these Bailey Alutex. Now just a rapid fire round of photographs which I took on a Caravan that somebody was trying to part exchange, who told me that the Caravan wasn't damp. When I got to the Caravan, I could see straight away that this Caravan had damp. Now the evidence was plain to see on the outside here. These are corrosion holes, or panel rot as we call it in the trade, and that tells me that the wallboard behind is so damp it's started to rot through and eat through the outside skin of the aluminium, and once this happens there's nothing you can do, but this is a sure clue that there's damp there. These photographs are just cracks in the front panel. That one's above the window rail, this one is heading up towards the window, this one again heading up towards the window. As we've discussed in other videos, if this wasn't drilled out, the crack would just continue. That's certainly going to be letting water in because the crack's opened up significantly and is open to the elements. This picture here just depicts what happens when the wallboard is crinkly. That's a sure sign that there's damp. A cracked grab handle here, probably going to be hard to source. And this one I want to talk about the age of tyres. I'm going to dive into this on another video, but tyres are recommended to be changed at a certain time, and this is how you tell the date. That sign there is stamped on the tyre and it's called the dot code, and that says 0212. That means the second week of 2012, making the tyres at 0.8 years old. A cracked A-frame cover, again these are going to be hard to source. You can repair them, but something to be aware of. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. I've shown you what I've got. I've shown you what I have in stock and sort of looked around pitfalls that you might find and just observations I make when I'm looking at caravans. So I hope that's helpful for anyone who's looking at used caravans in future, concerns about damp and the floor and shower trays and the common stuff that you're going to find. Any little cosmetic sort of things can be sorted out, but the sort of bigger things that you're going to discover that might cost you money. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's useful. If you have any questions, leave comments down below. You can contact us through our website caravansource.co.uk, but probably can't tell you much more than what I've already told you. Yeah, so keep caravanning, I guess. Take care. See you in another video.